Hey everyone. The beginning of this episode just kind of throws you right in the middle of a conversation, but that's only because we ended up starting to discuss the episode before I actually began the podcast proper. So I just thought I'd let you start listening at that point. So don't be alarmed. We're going to come in on the beginning of a sentence already in progress.
Lynch directed ones to me are above all the others, but I'd still say the final one and 14. This is up there though.
Right, and I think you always are gravitating to 14, 16, and 29. But when we go through, you'll see there's something great in every single scene in this episode, which is rare.
I love this episode. I mean, it's up as one of my favorites too. I absolutely love it, and I agree that it doesn't get enough.
Yeah, because I think it got buried coming after 8. I guess we're doing the commentary already, aren't we? Sorry, Matt.
I guess we are. Yeah, we already started. We're just automatic with that, I guess, aren't we?
Yeah.
Hey, I was thinking another thing we've got to watch out for is the spoilers. Just anything
for season 3.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that for season 2. You mean?
Or just whatever's coming up on Showtime is what I mean.
Okay.
Oh, that. Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
We can spoil season 1 and 2 all we want.
Okay. Yeah. I would not spoil season 3 in front of Scott. Do not worry.
Yes, he would jump through the internet and kill you.
No, I wouldn't kill him. Josh is my hero. I wouldn't kill him. I'd just be miffed.
Just maim him.
Like, you should definitely be happy you weren't in the conversation that Brad and I, or the one that Matt and I had last night, for that matter, because they were both very spoiler-heavy conversations.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm accepting that when I go to the fest in 2016, that I'm going to get spoilers, and I'm okay with it. I just don't seek them out.
Well, I think Matt put it to me the best way, and it was actually kind of the same way that I was feeling, but I never verbalized it. But I completely agree. Matt said that he is okay with it because none of us know that we're going to be alive in a year, that we're not going to get hit by lightning. So, and, I realized when he said that, that's kind of what I've been feeling inside. That's why I don't care. That's why I'm trying to get as much as I can.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't realize that I'd be disappointed because I'd be dead. But if I died before I got to see it, I'd be so disappointed.
Yeah, me too. It would be the worst thing. I mean, I would die.
Die again.
Well, it's funny because there's a part of me that feels that I am going to die before it comes out. Yeah. Now, are you saying that you guys are feeling that too, or we're just making a joke?
No, I'm
feeling it.
Because I honestly feel it.
Yeah, me too.
I felt it's too good to be true that it's actually going to happen, and that somehow the universe is going to take that away.
Yeah.
This is weird because I'm not even joking. Like I actually. And I mean, my goodness, let's call this a therapy session. I don't believe I'm ever going to see season 3 of Twin Peaks, and it's why I'm not overly excited about it, because in my heart, I don't believe I'm ever going to see it.
I felt the exact same way about Star Wars Episode 7 before I actually saw it.
Then when the credits started, then you start thinking, oh, wait a minute. Is something going to happen before the movie ends?
All right, so I guess we're started. I've been recording most of this, so I'll just jump into introductions. Welcome to the Twin Peaks podcast. We're doing another commentary for you. It's been quite a while since the last one. I think the last one was in July of last year. That was before I even met Scott in person at the Twin Peaks Fest.
Yes, it was good to meet you.
Yeah, you too. So today we've got Scott again, Scott Ryan, author of Scott Luck's Stories and host of the Red Room podcast. And we've also got Brad Dukes. You know these two people well. Brad Dukes, Twin Peaks author and host of the new Brad Dukes Show podcast, right?
That's right.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to listen because I can't get on iTunes at work. Well, I can't get on the iTunes store. My iTunes works.
Oh, you can go on SoundCloud too.
Ah, okay. Well, if you have an RSS feed, I can just direct link to that in my iTunes, and that works. I just keep forgetting to do it.
Okay. I'll send it to you.
Oh, great. Thanks. And so in addition to our two old friends, Scott and Brad, we've got Josh Eisenstadt, first-time guest. I've talked about him before in my Twin Peaks festival episodes. He's a Twin Peaks trivia guru and a film director as well. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Glad to finally have you on. I'm very excited.
Glad to be on.
Do you have any other claims to fame that you would like to mention?
Related to Twin Peaks?
Anything.
Anything? Well, I'm pretty new to podcasting. I've been on Scott's Red Room podcast twice. But yes, pretty much you said it. I mean, I am a film director and have made a few feature films that have been released, and then I guess my other one would be that I worked on these. I did a lot of the DVD extras for the season 2
Right.
Twin Peaks set,
Yes.
and a lot of them on the Gold Box. My friend Adam Harding and I did a lot of did pretty much all the interviews actually for season 2,
Yeah.
and then a lot of those were used in the Gold Box and on the Blu-ray.
Yeah, you appear in some of them, don't you? You're like, you can be seen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do appear. I'm interviewed on some of them, and I'm interviewed on the Fire Walk with Me DVD.
Ah. Okay.
And I would like to say that Josh and Brad and you are all in my documentary about the 25th Twin Peaks Film or Fan Festival.
Yeah.
And it's called A Voyage to Twin Peaks, and it's going to be playing at the Twin Peaks Fest throughout 2016. I'm going to be going to London, and it's going to play at the UK Fest. I'm working with Virginia. I'm not sure how it's going to play in the Seattle Twin Peaks Fest. I'm kind of hoping Josh will do a showing in the Salish Lodge. You know, what do you think, Josh? Maybe we'll have a late night showing of my documentary. You're in it, and you started out.
We will do. Let's do it in just.
I'm sorry, what?
We could do it in my room at the Salish if you want. We could have a bunch of people up there and screen it. I've done that many times. Things over the years.
Brad's actually executive producer on it. He assisted with me as well, and I think it's very funny, and I think fans will be surprised at the tone of it. It's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Either Brad's room or my room, because Brad will be there too. So either one, we'll just have invite some people up and do a screening maybe after one of the events. You know, either Friday or Saturday.
That would be great. I would love it because I think people will really enjoy it.
That sounds great. And yeah, we'll just get a group of people together, as many as will fit. And I mean, we did that. I think, Matt, you were there too. That was done for the Missing Pieces one year, the year that it came out 2 years ago.
Yes, that was magical.
And,
that was magical seeing it for the first time in the Salish, in the room.
In room 315.
Yeah, in room 315 with a bunch of people who had never seen the Missing Pieces before either. It was a bunch of our first times, 90% of us in that room.
It would be fun to do a commentary on the Missing Pieces now that I think about it.
Yeah, we could do that, definitely.
Yes, it would. Yes, it definitely would.
Mm-hmm. So in order to queue up our episode with everybody in the audience, I was thinking maybe we should just play the episode. I think all DVD players work the same, where we can just play, or whatever you're watching it on, where we can just start to play it, and then at the same time we can hit chapter back. You think that would be the best way?
Yeah, that could work. I'm actually queued up to the bird. It's on my screen on pause as we speak, but I could hit chapter back. It'll go right back to the top.
We should probably do that.
That might be just a second ahead.
Yeah, mine is ready on black, so I can hit play whenever you say go.
Yeah, okay. I'm ready.
Okay, so
I'm on black now. I just went back to black. I'm at the beginning.
Okay, I'll do the same. Okay, so everybody in the audience, start your DVD, and then when I say hit chapter back, we'll go 3, 2, 1, go. So 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, I see the bird.
The bird.
The bird
you've been to that branch.
I know, and out of all the dumb things that excited me, when Josh showed me where that bird was on the branch, and that's in my documentary too, it's exciting that it's really the branch.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that same branch is still there. Trees usually change quite a bit in 25 years.
It's a shock, yeah, but that background, definitely matches up.
Mm-hmm.
There we are, Rainick Road.
That's a still image, right? There's nothing moving in that water on the right.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there's definitely the water's not moving on the right for sure.
So that was just a photo. I've always wondered that.
And it is very different when you go to the fest and then you see these places. It's probably not that way for you, Josh, because you've gone for 20-some years. It's probably second nature to you to recognize these places.
Well, I remember the first time I was there was 1990. I was a little kid when the show was on, and I just, totally loved it. And went up there with my parents in 1991 when the show was still on the air. And I remember it was in the winter time, and it looked like it did in the pilot, and it was just the most magical thing in the world.
Hmm.
I watched one of the big Evelyn Marsh-heavy episodes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So this is a shot reused from the pilot, isn't it?
Yeah.
The
Most
rain.
of this footage was taken by Ron Garcia, second unit, and a lot of
Yeah.
it was taken during season 1.
Yeah, but some of this, like, they had a lot of footage that they took when they were there for the pilot that they never used, and then they intersperse it throughout the whole series, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then they also had Ron shoot extra stuff up there. Ron, who was the DP on the pilot and Fire Walk with Me.
Mm.
So I just love the barbershop quartet. And again, kudos to Angelo for coming up with music that's different from Twin Peaks and also fits right in.
Yeah. I listen to this tune all the time at work. I've got the whole soundtrack. I've downloaded them all from David Lynch website.
Nice.
I'm really not a fan of Cooper's hair in the early second season.
Why not?
Because it's too high.
It's way too high. It doesn't fit with the first season.
Right.
I believe
Maybe
that
it's just a shot for getting shot.
Well, I heard Kyle say it was because he was working on the Doors, but it makes no sense because he wears a wig in the Doors. So that answer doesn't make sense to me, unless they needed to stitch the wig to more hair. But I don't know if that's true or not.
I wouldn't think they would need to do that.
But that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
This was a pretty hard trivia question. The contents of Jacques Renault's stomach.
Did I ask that one?
Yeah, I've heard it asked before. I can't remember if it was on a documentary, the Gold Box documentary, or if it was when I was actually there.
Yeah, it sounds like something I would ask.
I would be able to say that it was Pinocchio and a license plate, but beyond that, those would be the two things I could remember.
But would you Maryland license plate and the beer cans and the half a bicycle tire and the goat? Or the other one.
I better study up before this year.
Yep.
And this is nice because this is where Albert becomes a human. It's just a second, but it's a turn, and it's important for a series because you need to have a character have all sides.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, and it leads into the next episode where he gives his famous "I love you, Sheriff Truman" speech.
Is that the next episode?
Yep.
Yeah.
That seems early.
Yeah, it's the one right after this.
I really wish Albert had hung around later on in the season. He was just so great.
Mm.
Yeah, me too. The more of Albert, the better.
Yeah, I think he got signed to another show as the lead, and so I guess he effectively left Twin Peaks.
Aw.
Yeah, and then when that show went off, he came back on to Twin Peaks.
I wonder what's the pen that Albert's got on his jacket. It looks like a flag or something.
American flag, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's totally a Republican. You just know it.
Definitely.
He's voting for Trump, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
They would go. Yeah, there's a yes.
So I always thought this was cool because the first time they mention Wyndham Earle, you don't know who Wyndham Earle is if this is back in 1990, and then they fade to an Asian person. And this is a great bit of trickery, and this is what TV needs to do more. Because the audience thinks, oh, this must be Wyndham Earle, because that's what television has told us for a year. But you have to remember, this is David Lynch.
Or at least he works for Wyndham Earle.
Yeah, Harley Payton wrote this episode, and he actually named Wyndham Earle. He came up with that name.
There's a band called Wyndham Earle.
He also came up with the Harold Smith character, based on the life of a real guy.
The
Inman Diaries, I believe.
Yep, exactly.
So the this location in Do they even show the outside of this location in the movie? They don't, do they?
Well, they do,
No,
but that's
it's
in
different.
Snoqualmie. It's a different location. It's in Snoqualmie. They show the exterior of the place, but it's a different location.
Right.
But it's supposed to be the same.
Yeah.
And the other interesting thing about this location is, if you notice the side here, this is actually the back of the house. It's a house and a guest house in real life in Malibu Lake. And the front, you only see the side of Harold Smith's place. The front was actually used as a deleted establishing shot for the Briggs house that they put a cannon in front of. It's actually the same house as the Harold Smith house.
It's also across the street from Leo Johnson's house.
And One-Eye Jack.
One-Eye Jack's, yes.
The Los Angeles Leo Johnson's house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, which is long gone.
Aw.
Long torn down and replaced by a new house.
So we should mention, for those who don't know, that is David Lynch's son.
Yeah.
I would think most people would know that, and that's not who's in Fire Walk with Me.
No, but Johnny LaPelle's a really good lookalike.
Yeah.
It really is. They look different now, though. Johnny LaPelle now and Austin Lynch now don't look alike anymore, but they certainly did back then.
What's Austin Lynch up to now?
He's working on a film of his own.
Okay.
He'd done a Kickstarter for it, and I'm not sure exactly what's happening with it, but I know that he was working on a film.
So do we think she's afraid of this cream corn because the man from another place is from a planet of cream corn?
I'm wondering if they had that idea all the way back here, like the Garmin Bozia idea. They had that way back here. They must have.
The creamed corn was not in the original script. Harley Peyton said it showed up, and he was like, "What the hell is this?" And I think it was one of those things. Lynch, she had the idea that day and put it in the scene.
Nice.
It was a David Lynch idea. It was he's the one that came up with it. It was one of his things. And as to whether he was thinking ahead to Garmin Bozia, that's hard to say, but he definitely came up with it here.
Yeah.
And it's such a scary, good scene.
Mm-hmm. I love the scene. I think this is one of the this is a real turning point too, because it's you have the visions and everything, but this is one of the scenes where we're seeing something in person that's really overtly supernatural.
Yeah. I remember watching these first few season 2 episodes back in 1990, and there was real existential dread that I would feel watching all this, because you just knew that we were going somewhere really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's David Lynch, and that's what he's an expert at doing, is instilling that existential dread that that you feel that, and he's a master at that.
And we've got the appropriate low foreboding music in these scenes that really amplifies the mood.
I remember too thinking that Harold Smith, the first time I saw this when I was a kid, I remember thinking that when they say Mr. Smith, I was thinking, oh my God, is that Bob Smith? I remember at first thinking that would be Bob.
Interesting. I always assumed he would be an old person, and then when he's young, that's a nice twist.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was Bob, just because of the first time.
I can't believe how well he gets David Lynch's cadence down.
This is the only episode where the Tremons are actually in the show, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yes, it is. It is. You see them in here and in Fire Walk with Me, but you see the younger Mrs. Tremond in episode 16, who's played by Mae Williams, a different actress, And,
the actual Mrs. Tremond.
The actual Mrs. Tremond, because their names actually are not Tremond or Chalfont. To me, it's very clear that what they're doing is they're temporarily taking over the place of people that actually exist in these places.
Yeah.
Usually near the victims, or probably who has the ring, if we're, adding in the Fire Walk mythology, because, they're at the trailer park under the name Chalfont, replacing the Chalfonts, and then they're replacing the Tremonts.
Yeah. But I wonder what their purpose is within the lore. Like, why do they do the things they do?
I get the feeling that Pierre Tremont, he's the magician, so I think the magician longs to see. He's the magician.
Mm-hmm.
And in Fire Walk with Me, he appears to be ordering Bob when he points at him as his fellow victim.
Ah.
That's what it always appears to be to me, that he's above Bob somehow.
One time I visited this location, and I guess it was 5 or 6 years ago, and the woman who owned the house lived there when they filmed this, and apparently they did thousands of dollars of damage and didn't pay her back to her yard.
And did you write her a check, Brad?
No, I didn't cross my mind.
So that hospital location, that was hard for people to find, I think I remember hearing.
Yeah, and the interior here is a hospital that this interior is a hospital in Lakeview Terrace, which is in Los Angeles, which is now a drug rehab center. The interior here. And there's no way to get into it. I know many people have tried, and they don't let anybody in. So I guess you have to go there and pretend to be a drug addict to get in to see this location.
You're definitely not getting in there.
Yeah.
So
if anybody wants to pretend to be a drug addict.
This is a great scene. I mean, it's just what we love about Twin Peaks. You know, just taking this moment to read the stool. And I think this is Kyle's best acting, by the way, in the way he's holding his body, because you believe he was shot.
And this is how you can tell. This is how you can tell who's going to be a David Lynch fan and who's not. Who can stand this scene, and who gets upset by like just having to watch this.
Yeah, and this was another one this was when they were filming this. This literally just happened. They couldn't get the stool to work, and then David Lynch puts it in the scene, and that's just it's part of the way that he doesn't believe in accidents. That everything that happens, happens for a reason, and therefore he'll incorporate it.
Mm-hmm.
I also love this scene for Michael Ontkeen, how he's just kind of playing straight off Cooper.
He's always playing straight off Cooper. That's what he does.
Well, and one of my favorite things about this scene is he holds up a picture of Leo that's drawn. Looks nothing like Leo, and then the picture of Bob is perfectly, and no one's ever really seen Bob. It's just one of those touches that I love.
I never understood why he didn't show a photo of Leo.
That's a good point too.
They did have photos of Leo. We see it in episode 12. They have the photo of Leo at the trial. I don't know why he didn't get a photo.
Which was like the actor's headshot.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's just funny that Andy couldn't quite get Leo, but Bob is perfect.
Right. Exactly.
I found it interesting how in the original pilot that was it Hawk that was the artist and not Andy?
Yes, and that's in the extended version of the European. Hawk is the artist. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that was and then Cooper mentions that when he's actually recounting in episode 3, when he's actually recounting the European dream sequence or the European ending, he recounts the Deputy Hawk sketch the picture.
That sketch of Bob used to scare the ever-living daylights out of me.
Yeah. On this shot, too, the sound design on this is amazing.
And it just comes into focus right in your face.
Yeah. Now, Phoebe had an interesting story about this scene.
Yeah.
She said that David Lynch had a stick of gum on the end of the camera.
What for?
And then he said to her, Phoebe, if you do this scene really well, you can have this gum.
I hope it wasn't chewed.
I don't think it was. I think it was in a wrapper.
Okay.
And it was in style, I guess.
And again, this is another one of my favorite scenes. The smoked cheese pig. And everything about these two, everything in this episode just has a touch. Let's call it the smoked cheese pig touch. That has nothing to do with the scene and has everything to do why we're still talking about this show 25 years later.
They're so good when they're together, these two, and it doesn't happen enough.
Yeah, they have great. The two actors play great off each other, and I actually have an interesting behind-the-scenes story on this scene.
Yeah.
That Richard Beamer talked about. You just notice how the account ledgers are sitting.
Yeah.
The reason they're sitting that way is because this scene, if you look at the script, was scripted completely different. The lines are 100% different. They end up in the scripted version. They end up burning both the ledgers. The scene is completely different. So David Lynch looks at the scene and says, "You know what? I don't want to do the scene this way. Everybody, take a break. Go to lunch." And he rewrites the scene and then gives David Patrick Kelly and Richard Beamer the new lines written on pieces of paper, and then they have to start filming. So the account ledgers are set up that way because their lines are on the back.
Oh, nice.
He rewrote this on the second to be and then added the marshmallows at the end and all of that.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's why the account ledgers are sitting up that way. Because they didn't have enough time to memorize.
That's an interesting story because I've always wondered how much David Lynch really knew what was going on with the plot of Twin Peaks. And if he, this is a deep scene about the mill story. I mean, so he must have truly understood. So this idea that he just flittered in and out can't be true then, which is good to know.
I still don't really understand the whole mill plot. And I've seen Twin Peaks probably, I don't know how many times. I still don't know.
Well, I mean, it is an interesting idea. Like, there's double and triple and quadruple crossing, but...
And a lot of characters. You have to get to the Thomas Eckhart and Andrew Packard are kind of at the center of it.
David Patrick Kelly is just over the top here, and I love it.
Yes. He's great. He is really great, David.
It should be cringeworthy, but it's not.
No, it isn't.
And there we go with the Scotch tape. I mean, if we didn't have that, no one would have a costume at any of the Twin Peaks fests.
That's a good point. The bus tour, I remember, there were people taking pictures with Scotch tape on their head at the sheriff's station on the bus tour.
So, Josh, you've been in the diner since it was renovated. How close does it look to this diner?
A little bit, but more to the diner in the pilot, but with a couple renovations. I don't know if that counts as season 3 spoiler for me to say what the diner looks like, does it? Or, I mean, it looks like that in person, so it doesn't.
Right. I'm going to see it in a couple months, so we're okay.
Okay, yeah, it looks a lot like it does from the pilot, but if you remember, there's a mirror alongside in the pilot that now has trees and forest painted on it, and I would say it resembles it from the pilot in Fire Walk with Me more so than it does the set here.
Okay.
So I've always thought it's interesting that they already have "Say No to Ghostwood" posters in the background. I've always thought that was interesting.
Has that been brought up yet in the series?
No, it won't even be brought up for a long, long time. But if you look right in the milkshake thing, they say "No to Ghostwood." So that's impressive.
I always thought that was a nice touch.
But it's weird that they knew that they were going to be against it. I mean, this early.
I guess it makes sense, too. It also makes total sense that somebody such as Norma would be, that they don't want, the same way they probably felt when they built the Ridge in Snoqualmie, where there probably were locals that didn't want them to tear everything down and build, build over everything.
And we've lost both of these actors. That's really sad to think about. They're two of my favorites.
They were so great together, too. I wish there had been more scenes with these two.
Yeah.
And they were both wonderful, wonderful people in real life, too. Both of them were big friends of the festival, too, attended multiple times, and were fan favorites. Everybody loved them. They were both really not only great actors, but wonderful human beings.
One thing I've always wondered about is what spurred the change in Major Briggs going from season 1 to season 2, because season 1, he's like this oppressive parent, and then when we switch to season 2, he's just this enlightened kind of seer. He's almost like the giant in a way when he's talking to Cooper.
Well, is his speech to Bobby, is that not in season 1?
That was in episode 8.
Speech?
The White Lodge speech.
That's episode 8.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the first one of season 2.
All right.
He has 2 speeches to Bobby that he does in season 1. But they're not a little bit. They are a little bit different there.
I meant the one in the diner where he's telling about his dream. Yeah.
That's episode 8. Yeah, that's the episode directly. That's the second season.
So I guess you're right. He does change starting in season 2. And here's a nice metaphor. Andy buzzing around.
Yes. Another David Lynch touch with the fly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the fly is the smoked cheese pig in this scene.
Yeah.
Yes. And you're right. There's one in each scene here, kind of, I think.
And I think that's where some of the directors lose their way as season 2 goes on. I mean, that's what we wanted. We didn't care about the plot. It's the not plot that we're interested in.
Yes, those little details. But also they have to... Well, I won't get too much into that.
On a side note, I always think this is the prettiest Kimmy Roberts is. She's just so adorable in this scene.
Harry Goaz's energy on screen is, I don't know, there's something very magical about it. It's so sincere. I am captivated when I see him act.
Yeah.
When I think it shows how hard it is to write for characters like this, because obviously there's storylines that are going to pick up here soon just don't make it. But, you want to give these two something because they definitely have a chemistry, but you have to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That right there is what leads into Dick Tremaine.
Yeah. Now, what do you guys? I know we're all fans of Ian Buchanan, but are you guys fans of the character of Dick Tremaine?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love him.
I don't. I'm a no.
Why, Scott? Explain yourself.
I would say that I fast forward through the entire Little Nicky story. It doesn't exist to me.
Okay, I understand that, but aside from Little Nicky.
Well, I mean that's his big story after his first things, I would say.
You gotta love his episode.
Go ahead.
Sorry. You gotta love his episode 16 scene with Andy with you got a light and Andy searches everywhere. You were saying, and he then lights his own.
Yeah, I mean I like everything up to 16, but 16 on, Andy, Dick, and Lucy don't work for me.
The Little Nicky story did give us that one great scene in the adoption agency where that couple comes in and Dick's like, little, what was it, Little Johnny or Little Danny or something? Little Donnie is dead.
I always thought that was a reference to Blue Velvet, Little Donnie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No, I just don't watch those parts. They don't work for me.
This is a little bit of a wasted opportunity, I guess, to explore more of this, that they used to be friends.
Totally. I would love to know more about that.
Mm.
The whole Bookhouse Boys thing would be interesting to know more about.
Yeah, the Bookhouse Boys as a whole are just criminally underused in the whole series.
I mean, like Joey Paulson, we see him briefly, and we see Joey Paulson briefly in episode 13, but, that's not really... The Bookhouse Boys would just be good to see more.
Yeah, what's Cappy up to?
I don't know. I'd like to know. He's a mini Truman.
Yeah.
Cappy is a mini Truman for sure. He really looks like him. Now, this is interesting here. This bit with Kimmy here explaining the phone call was another instance of similar to her whole speech in the pilot about the phones. Mm-hmm. And this was David Lynch again just telling her, how do you think Lucy would say this? And Kimmy actually wrote down these lines in writing on her script, that this is what I'm going to say, transfer Ben Horn to you now, not him, but his phone call and all of that.
No matter how many times I watch Twin Peaks, I always catch myself kind of looking at the sets and just marveling at what Richard Hoover, the production designer, did, because all these places just look so real.
They do.
Yeah, it's amazing what he did with it.
That's got to be a really daunting task to go from an empty room to something that looks lived in. Where do you get all these things, these knickknacks,
Well, I specifically remember watching it the first time in season 1 when they're in the shooting range and you see Christmas decorations boxed up in the corner.
Yeah, which makes sense for a basement.
Yeah, but I'd never seen that before on TV. And that's like something that stuck with me my whole life. Like that made it real.
The shooting range was actually on location in Malibu. That was not a set.
Correct.
So interesting. So do you think there was Christmas decorations?
There wasn't. I was at that location when it's not there anymore, but I was there and there were no Christmas decorations. That was completely the art department, Richard Hoover and the art department.
Nice.
It's just a great idea.
Did that. Yeah.
I hope that Ben prop still exists. That log that was left on his desk.
Oh, that would be great to get that prop.
The great Leland Palmer. This is where we love Leland so much that we don't want to see the truth.
Yeah.
You just are ignoring how obvious these clues are about to be in this scene, but you don't see it because you don't want to.
Exactly, and it's amazing because people, they don't pick up on it here, and then upon us, when you watch it again, after you know who the killer is, it's pretty clear.
Were any of you all sold on Leland being the killer before you knew who killed Laura Palmer?
No,
I always thought Josie did it.
I can't remember who I thought did it. It feels like I've always known, but I know I didn't know the first time I watched it.
I know at this point, I remember thinking at this point that Bob was just a person that he did it. Or Bob was not necessarily a person, but just that it was just Bob. I didn't know that it would be At this point, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was Josie because she was the first person we saw in the series. And she didn't have a cliffhanger in episode 7. She was nowhere. So I thought, I think she's the killer. But the thing is, that's because she's shooting Cooper.
Yeah.
Right.
So
you were right.
I was right. I just went the wrong way.
Right.
So do you think this is Bob finding this, or is this Leland finding this?
Oh, I think it's Leland, in my opinion.
Feels like Leland to me.
Yeah.
It's definitely Leland.
Because he says, I know this man.
Yeah.
I think he does know this man, but he just doesn't know he's living in his shoes.
Exactly.
To me, this feels like a good opportunity for Bob. He knows he can just sit back and just torture Leland a little bit here.
Exactly. He knows him. He doesn't know that he is him.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, some people argue that it's always Bob, like especially in certain scenes in Fire Walk with Me. I've heard.
See, when I think about that, I think about Leland's life being inhabited by Bob. I mean, he graduated college and went to law school, raised a family, and went to church. So it's like, I feel like there has to be some kind of Bob that just lays dormant, and he's willing to just let Leland operate on his own.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like.
Oh, sorry.
Well, mine is short. I feel like if you go with the scorched engine oil smell, he can't be Bob all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. Also, and when he's dying, he says, when he was inside, I didn't know. When he was gone, I couldn't remember. Which suggests that he didn't know at certain points. And also, the interesting thing is that Laura says that Bob has been having her since she was 12. Suggesting that Leland really wasn't doing anything to her before she was 12. Which is interesting. Maybe Bob was completely dormant for a period of time.
Yeah, because he's been in there since he was a kid, right?
Yeah, exactly. But he didn't start doing anything to Laura till she was 12. She didn't start seeing Bob till she was 12, according to what she says in Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah.
I would love to hear Eric DeRay tell some stories about being Leo, because he really got to do everything on this show.
Yeah, I wonder what the deal is. Yeah, I mean, nobody's been able to find him or interview him.
Just that one time when we all thought he was an arsonist or whatever.
Somebody was confusing fiction and reality there, I think. At least we're a little confused.
Well, I do think about that sometime, that you go out for a part to play a tough guy and you're like, sweet. And then you spend 22 of the episodes being a vegetable.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
this is just great directing. Just set up a mirror and a close-up and you've got a scary scene.
Yes. And the other great thing is it's a thing because everybody thinks his eyes are going to open, and then they don't. It's similar to what you were saying with Jonathan at the beginning, where you think it's Wyndham Earl.
Right.
When the camera moves around, it's the type trick where you think it's going to be, because in most movies he'd open his eyes right there.
Well, and David Lynch doesn't mind letting the audience make mistakes. In fact, that's what he likes best. So who's on the phone with Lucy?
Yeah, I was about to ask.
I have a theory, but let's hear the experts.
Do you want mine?
Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Okay. Now, I've gone back and forth in this. I used to think it was Leland, but then I thought that Leland wouldn't call and not give his name. Then I went to Wyndham Earl, just playing a game. But Wyndham Earl would probably use a different name. And then I started thinking it was the one-armed man.
That's who I think it is, the one-armed man.
Maybe flitting between Gerard and Mike, and that's kind of where I am now.
Okay.
But that's kind of been my thoughts on it, and that's kind of where I've always gone.
What do you think, Brad? And I'm going to look at Audrey Horne.
I think it's Little Nicky crank calling.
Brad.
Maybe it's Malcolm. Maybe it's Malcolm Sloan.
Yeah. I've got some important exposition for you.
Yeah. But I won't give you my name. I'll just give you exposition.
Now, the girl pushing the vacuum cleaner was a assistant in the art department. She was cast on the spot by David Lynch.
She loved red hair. Her name's Julia Bell. She was the art department coordinator on season 2. Yeah, and he loved her red hair.
Oh, okay. That's not a wig, huh?
No, that was her hair.
Sherilyn Fenn is so beautiful in this whole One-Eyed Jacks thing. I mean, God bless her. I really appreciate her for these scenes. They did a lot for my youth.
Informed who you became.
Oh, yes. Let me set an expectation I could never achieve. And this has got to be her best line in the series, right? I'm Audrey Horne and I get what I want.
I think so.
Oh, that's classic.
We didn't get enough of Audrey in this early second season.
Wasn't she sick or something?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe so.
She was. Because there was another scene that was scripted and never filmed for this episode where she runs into Nancy.
Oh, really?
Actually, it was the episode before this, but then she runs into Nancy again in this episode. Blackie's sister, Nancy. And, yeah, that was supposed to be filmed. And then there's another scene that I should mention that is a great scene that's in the script, and it is on the shooting schedule, so I believe it was filmed between Albert, Cooper, Pete, and Truman, where Pete ends up punching Albert.
What? That would have been great.
And it's really funny. It's in the script, and yeah, there's some great classic Albert lines in there. And,
it's funny you mentioned that, Josh, because when I talked to Miguel for my book, I asked him if Pete punched him, and apparently they didn't film that. He said Truman was the only one that punched him.
Oh, they did not film it. Okay, because it's on the shooting schedule, which is why I always thought they did. But weird. Too bad, because it would be great to see that scene if it had been filmed.
Oh, I know.
I wonder why they took it out. Maybe they didn't think it fit Pete's character.
Maybe, but he was definitely antagonizing Pete in the scene.
You can't beat up on Rosenfeld too much. I mean, he's a tough guy. He can't lose too much of an aura.
Right.
I always thought the line where he says, "Don't you get it, Laura was just like you," makes you want to think that Ben could have been Laura's dad. Maybe he fathered everyone in Twin Peaks.
I thought that for a while. I remember the first time I saw it that Ben might have been Laura's dad.
Yeah, I think they wanted us to.
And then they pulled the Donna's dad thing.
Did they ever use this song besides this scene?
It's in Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's in several other episodes, usually associated with Shelley. It plays during Leo's welcome home party.
Okay.
It plays in the diner one time in episode 25 with Shelley and Annie.
Is it always used as diegetic sound that the characters can hear?
I know it's usually non-diegetic. Well, it's questionable in the diner. When it plays in the diner, it's questionable whether it is or not. You know, I mean, it might be in there, but it's playing in the scene with Shelley and Annie where they're talking about Cooper.
This song always makes me think of Laura Palmer dancing drunk off her ass in Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah.
It's like the worst but best dance ever.
And the other scene that is pretty memorable in is when Leo wakes up, when the lights are going out and the song is playing.
Oh, right, yeah. And it's definitely within the universe there because it's being affected by the lights and the power.
Exactly. So that one is another one where it is diegetic for sure.
Yeah.
So maybe Twin Peaks only played Invitation to Love on TV and Drug Deal Blues on the radio.
Exactly. Well, in the missing pieces, it also plays the saxophone version of the Fire Walk with Me theme.
Yeah, this is actually a good mirror scene to that. They're similar. It's a car parked and listening to the radio, and
You're right. Yeah, it is.
It's a nice mirror, which I think Lynch loves.
Now, see, Shelley's the girl, Scott. It's not Audrey.
Well, it's true. That's Brad and I have this all worked out. Okay, Brad gets Shelley. Okay, I actually get Laura Palmer. I mean, I do love Cheryl and Fenn in this section, but it's Laura Palmer for me. It's Cheryl Lee and Brad and I have it all worked out. It's fine.
Okay.
We've discussed this before.
Growing up, it was when I remember it was always jumping back and forth between them in my mind. They were all great.
Well, there's no doubt about it.
This episode has gone fast. We're already approaching the end.
Oh, really?
I know.
Well, it's just a great episode.
The next scene is just you and I. We're already there.
Oh, no.
Went up after this.
Oh, thankfully you have it on mute.
But then what happens after that, though.
That's
one of the scariest things.
Right, and that's one of the things that I want to say. This part is funny. Did someone just knock on the door because I have my... Does the door knock here?
Yeah.
I have my sound done. Okay.
Yeah.
I always think this is funny because you're like, Cooper, don't answer the door.
Well, doesn't he
please.
grab his gun? Does he grab his gun?
No, that's when he answers it to Audrey in episode 15. He grabs his gun. Here he just asked who it is.
What if he got shot again?
Yeah, and at this point, as the audience, you're really afraid of that because,
Right.
and that's why he says, "Who is it?" And when he says it's Major Briggs, I remember thinking, "Is it really Major Briggs, or is somebody going to be there with a gun again?"
It was just
Right.
it was just Josie doing a good Major Briggs impression.
Exactly. I mean, Bobby does a lead, so you know.
Sure, why not? And I do think when you're going down the series the first time, you know, you're like, what, Major Briggs? Like, I didn't think he was going to come into this. So it is a nice use of your cast.
This is such a great setup, too, for the Just You and I scene, because it really, I don't know, it's kind of like a setup with a volleyball spike or something.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things I really wanted to talk about is the Just You and I scene. You know, everyone makes fun of it, including me, but it plays such an important role. The reason we're afraid of the couch and Bob is because we sat through Just You and Me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey,
And
that's a good song. All right, I like it.
I've always liked it too, actually.
I mean, it's not the, you know, when you're watching this, you're like, what am I sitting through? But that's how Lynch scares you. He lulls you, or he moves your mind to somewhere else where you're like, what am I listening to these people sing for?
Right.
And then he gets you. I mean, that's what he does in episode 14 with Julie Cruz singing. And then we go into the scary scene there.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this was supposed to be a safe place.
Right.
Yeah, he's very good at that. He uses songs to do that a lot. I mean, look even at Club Silencio or any Dorothy Vallon singing Blue Velvet. All these things that put you in one.
Yeah, and I mean, I honestly believe if they didn't have them singing before the Bob scene, we would not be as afraid of it. I mean, there's a lot to it, but just the whole feeling of this scene, because it's kind of dorky that they're sitting here singing, and you just got the owls are not what they seem. Like it's a good juxtaposition.
Yeah, well, I had a question about the previous scene with the space readings. My co-hosts were so afraid it was going to go into space alien territory. Was it ever actually going to go there? Does anyone know? No?
No, the idea, I mean, that's a feint because it's revealed in 19 that they actually, and I've actually told people this a lot when they say there's space aliens in Twin Peaks. I said, no, there actually isn't, because it's all the evil in the woods, because those readouts are revealed by Colonel Riley to have originated from the woods, even though the monitors are pointed at space.
Yeah, but there is something about space because the planets are involved, the aligning of the planets. But yeah, space aliens, no.
Space aliens, no, yeah. Yeah, that's an X-Files thing, not a Twin Peaks.
So what did they do to his voice here? They pitched it up, and did they speed it up a little bit?
I believe they pitched up a little bit, but they asked James, David Lynch asked James to sing very high.
Everybody actually sang on the recording for this.
Yeah.
These are their voices.
I really can't see Laura Flynn Boyle doing this in about 8 episodes from here, so she must have still been behaving.
I guess she had to have been at this point, yeah.
And again, going back to Beautiful Women, the look that Cheryl Lee is about to give James is just everything you want.
Yeah, I bet, Scott, you wish you could just push him out of the way and receive that look.
Yeah, I've had it as my screensaver for most of the 90s. I got a screen capture of that look, and
Nice.
I'm looking at my Twin Peaks card that came in the gold box of Cheryl Lee. It's framed right above my computer, so I'm about to see it twice, but she can certainly get you with a look.
In the original script, Bob was actually sitting at the kitchen table, just kind of hanging out.
And they didn't notice?
No, that's when Maddie sees him and screams.
Oh, okay. And he's
I suggest everybody out there go read the original draft of this. It's very interesting to compare.
Yeah,
and you'll also see the Ben Horn scene that I talked about with Ben and Jerry, the dialogue being different, and you'll see the Pete Martell scene punching Albert, which is probably the only way you ever can see it now since it wasn't filmed.
Yeah. So, Scott, do you like her better as a blonde or a brunette?
Well, you gotta go with the blonde in Firewalk with Me, but I'd take either way.
What? The wig?
The wig doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. I like everything
it's criminal.
about.
It's criminal.
How about the actual? How about Cheryl Lee in the pilot?
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, she's just so beautiful. And I'm going to 3 fests this year, and I better meet her at one. But also, I'm afraid to meet her. I mean, don't get me started.
Cheryl is one of the nicest people in the world. She is just one of the kindest, most genuine people in the world.
I know, but I think I'm gonna cry when I meet her, and I don't wanna. So it's just don't get me started.
All right, here we go. Is everybody ready?
Yeah.
Everybody have control of their bowels?
Yeah, but I mean, it's about perspective. Josh, talk us through directing this scene as far as camera focus, because that's what impresses me is the focus of the lamp and Bob. I mean, how do you do that? I wouldn't be able to do that.
Well, that is the brilliance of the camera department to be able to pull that one off. That's the first AC being able to pull and set those focal points. And first ACs, I think, are the unsung heroes of filmmaking, because when a director has an idea such as what David Lynch was doing here, they have to pull off some very complicated focus pulling to do that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, and you don't see it in the shot either. I mean, sometimes you can see it and it takes you out of it, but in a scene like this, you know, if you were taken out of it by a bad shot, it's over.
Oh yeah, you lose it all. It's gone, yeah.
And it's just the focus is absolutely perfect, and the perspective of the size of the table. And I always feel that the lamp and the stuff must not have actually been on the table.
You know what's scary? What's the scariest part of this is when he comes around the corner, not when he goes over the couch. For me.
Oh, I agree.
The couch.
Oh, right there. That's it.
Right here. Yeah.
Ugh.
See, I don't like when his hand hits that couch.
I had a room in my house growing up like this, and I couldn't walk by it without seeing Bob kind of pop out behind the corner.
Oh, it's just so awful. And see how the couch is in total focus? He's in focus. The back is that flower.
The flower is, yep.
Oh my God, it's too scary.
No!
And when she screams, it scares you too. I mean, she gives all of herself to this scene.
Cheryl is great. Cheryl is great at screaming. Cheryl and Grace both are great at screaming.
And it's just so scary.
This is all I thought that was a nice touch too, putting the giant hand there before the stream.
The visions at the in this episode and the end of the previous episode are just magnificent. I love these sequences.
I love how he looks like he's chewing gum here.
Yeah, this is the one part that I don't like about this episode is when they actually go and focus on Bob. I think it should have left it unfocused, because I think the least we see Bob, the scarier he is. So I wish that it wouldn't come into complete focus, but it's a small complaint.
And that effect's kind of weird, but
right.
But it's important first time through.
Yeah.
My sincere hope for Twin Peaks 2017 is to be scared worse than this. I don't know if it's possible, but I believe in Lynch and Frost.
I believe so too. But without Frank Silva was definitely, well, we'll see. We will see, I guess.
That's an interesting hope, Brad. I haven't thought about it being scary. You're right. I hope it's scary. I want to be nervous again.
I think we will be. I'm not basing that on anything. I'm just basing it on that with David Lynch directing all the episodes. You know, I have faith. Mm-hmm. And there we go down the telephone cord again. Telephone cord shot, just similar to the pilot.
Oh, he's not going to be able to use that anymore.
yeah, you're right.
They'll be charging. It'll be an iPhone cord.
Yeah.
Plugged into a USB.
Somewhere
Exactly.
in some interview, Kyle MacLachlan did say, yeah, smartphones have entered Twin Peaks.
That's good.
I was wondering about that. I was wondering if it would or wouldn't.
Yeah, it would have to.
Well, that's
So
the end of the
there
episode.
it is. I mean, it's just a great episode.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. It's amazing.
It's one that you can not think about when you're thinking about your favorites, but it has so many little touches that are great.
Yeah, nothing like that was. There was no like huge events in that episode. That's just like a random one that he directed. And if the new season is anything like this episode, where he just takes, just a regular episode with no big things and just elevates it to this level for every episode of the new season, that'll just be
It'd be amazing.
amazing. Yeah.
And because it's too bad all of us will be dead.
Oh.
That joke only works if you leave the front part in.
Oh, I intend to.
Okay. I just realized that was maybe before we were recording.
I think I caught it. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming on with me, and you guys up for it again at some point?
Always.
Awesome.
Sure, it's
Definitely.
so much fun.
So how many episodes left that David Lynch directed do I have? 2?
2, yeah.
And then if you do Fire Walk Me and the Missing Pieces, then you got those.
Got 4. Yeah. I'll space them out throughout the year.
And I still suggest that we do 16 as well. It's not a Lynch-directed one, but it's, the Tim Hunter one. It's so important to the series. It's worth doing.
Maybe we should do that one. That's an excellent episode.
It is.
Okay, well, do you guys want to plug anything, Scott?
Like we do the Red Room podcast in a couple weeks. We're going to have Josh on the show. We're going to discuss the X-Files and Darren Morgan in particular, so I'm looking forward to that. And you can see my documentary, A Voyage to Twin Peaks. It's a 35-minute lighthearted look at the Twin Peaks fests. It's playing at fests across the country in 2016, and that's about it.
Okay. Brad, what about you?
Yeah, anyone out there can find me on Twitter at Brad_D_, and you can get links to my book, Reflections and Oral History of Twin Peaks, and my podcast, The Brad Dukes Show. And interestingly enough, Harley Payton, the gentleman that wrote this past episode, is on my next episode this week. So
nice.
Check
awesome.
that out.
Nice.
Great.
And Josh, what do you have? Do you have anything you want to plug?
Well, I guess probably the film Spreading Darkness that I directed. It's starring Eric Roberts, John Savage, Dominique Swain, and James Duvall, and a lot of Robert Davi, a lot of good people, a lot of good actors. That one should be out, working on distribution now, and hopefully we'll have a deal soon, and hopefully that'll be out near the end of the year, so definitely check that out.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks, gentlemen, and we'll see everyone next time. Bye.
All right, sounds great. Thanks so
See
much.
ya.
Okay.